And of course, a huge thanks to all of our partners. Nothing we do at Axios here on the Promenade would be possible without the support of all of our partners. And so big thanks to Workday for kicking us off this week. And so I'm very excited to welcome to the stage for a View from the Top conversation, the Group General Manager in the Office of the CHRO at Workday, Aashna Kircher. Aashna, welcome to Davos. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Big topic this week at Davos will be AI, and you came bearing gifts. There's some new research that Workday has put out. I know there are copies floating all around the room. Why don't you kick us off with a big picture? Like, what are the data points? What did you learn?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me today. Delighted to be here. I think we had a few hard copies in the room for those of you who didn't get one. We're also going to put a QR code up, I believe, such that you can get a copy, read it top to bottom. So a couple things that we're really seeing. The biggest takeaway for us from the report is that while overall organizations are absolutely seeing net value from AI, getting time savings and productivity back, roughly 40% of that time is actually going into rework and correcting low quality AI output. I'm just curious, that resonate with anyone? Anybody have that experience? Myself personally, yeah, about everybody in the room. It sounds about right.
So, yeah. What do we take away from that? So, almost half of what we're doing with AI, we have to redo.
Well, about 40%, but
I'm
sure.
rounding up.
I think, look, the positive side of that is we're seeing net value. That means
look at the 60%.
That's
then.
right,
Okay.
exactly, glass half full. And the opposite is how do we look at building the support structures and investing in our people such that the load of rework can decrease and that we are making sure that businesses and organizations are focused on not just output and speed of productivity, but actually outcome and quality. What are the quality outcomes that we're getting from investing in AI and having our people work with AI versus just how much time savings are we getting back?
There's a little data in the report as well about people investment, about how leaders prioritize AI investment and how people feel like they're getting value at it. A big gap there. 66% of leaders prioritize it, like under 40% of people feel like it's useful.
Yeah.
What do you make of that and how to solve for that gap?
Yeah, this was, for me, one of the biggest takeaways, and it was specifically related to training, that we're seeing high investment and organizations saying, yeah, we're investing in training, and people by about a 30-point delta saying, hey, actually, we're not feeling the level of training. We don't feel equipped. And a couple things stood out to me. One is, I think many organizations are investing in training as here's what the AI is and here's the tool. They're not investing in here's how you use AI to shape your work in a really thoughtful and impactful way. And so that's, I think, really why we're seeing some of that delta is that we're seeing the technology investment, but not necessarily the human investment of how does it make sense to use these capabilities around the work.
Is there a gap where leaders think about it? I think of my own life, how I approach AI and how we talk about it, where AI for the sake of AI, and that's the training will give you, as opposed to AI for the sake of the task you're doing or your job.
Yeah, this goes back to the outcomes, right? Of how do you look at AI in reshaping and working with the tools to drive the best positive outcome for your work. I think we use the terminology in the report that I love, which is we're using 2026 tools with 2015 job structures and workflows. So we haven't designed the organizations and the workflows in a way that matches the iteration that AI requires.
There's a big piece, this came up in last year, I think on the Promenade a lot when we talked about AI, is that we tried to bring it into the processes and systems that already existed instead of building new processes and systems. Can you share a little bit about how you think about that? And so I guess for CHROs in particular, what should they go and break and then rebuild using AI?
Yeah, great question. And I think at the heart of it is job structures and organizations and roles. Many of those in traditional organizations are hierarchical, they're static, and they're defined 5, 10, 15 years ago and haven't been touched since. And in working with many CHROs as part of the products that we build at Workday, one of the things that we're seeing that drives the most value out of AI is when CHROs and HR organizations are working in tandem with the business to redefine job structures, to bring in AI skills, but also, to your point, completely ground up, reimagine the type of work that needs to be done. And then B, work hand in hand with their business partners to orchestrate what is the right organizational structure, the makeup of the organization. How do you have AI and humans work together and break down the pieces that each is best suited to do to better drive those outcomes?
If we were to give one piece of advice to the CHROs in the room before they go back to their leadership at their companies, I mean, it seems like almost the advice is start with a blank sheet of paper and start sketching it out and figure out where AI is instead of trying to plug it into all these gaps maybe that already exist.
Yeah, I think starting from ground up is absolutely one of them, working hand in hand with the business and the organization that knows the work really well, and then really not focusing on measuring gross productivity, focusing on measuring net productivity. What's the actual ROI that's happening? Yes, you saved 10 hours, but you spent 4 hours redoing the work. That's a 6-hour save, not a 10-hour save. And then the last thing is really reinvesting back in the human skills and training, as that is absolutely what employees are missing and need to see.
If we were to come back here to Axios House in Davos next year or 2 years from now, how will we know who won? Right? What will the companies that have succeeded in this challenge look like, and how will they have figured it out? How will we celebrate them in the future?
Yeah, it won't be who has the most AI. Let's put it that way. It will be who has used AI thoughtfully in tandem to redefine how their organization works and drive, to me, a human capital renaissance with the tools and technology enabling it.
It comes back to maybe like a big picture in that being thoughtful about it. Maybe back to that training thing. Like, I'm giving you AI training just because I feel like you should have AI training instead of giving you AI training in a way that is actually useful. So it sounds like the advice is be thoughtful.
Yep, thoughtful and really focused on the quality of outcome that you're seeing. What is AI with your people helping to drive for your business, not just how much speed and task execution do you see?
Before we get to here, I do want to dig in a little bit on that, just as a little bit of advice. And I'm thinking about this personally as someone who's trying to push AI into an organization. Like, what is the biggest obstacle then in that? Do you find it is more with how leaders understand it or how employees embrace it?
Great question. I would say neither. Although both of them have their nuances and I'm sure are challenges for all. I see the biggest obstacle as being very, very clear about the work and the success in an organization. Because when you focus on what are you trying to drive, then you can pair leaders and employees.
That was a polite way of saying I'm the obstacle. I'm not explaining it right. But I think that's a good framing, is that it's not a solution, that you have to be thoughtful about it. Super interesting. We're about to get the hook here, and but Axios will end on one fun thing. When we're talking AI, I want to end on one fun AI thing. Tell me an interesting way you use AI in your life.
So I've got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and my 6-year-old's in first grade. And I will say the way that they teach math now is not the way that I learned how to do math. And I actually take pictures of my 6-year-old's homework, put it in AI, not to help him cheat, but to help me learn how to teach him the right way to do math in the construct of how he learns it at school, which is very different than I learned it.
That sounds very output-oriented.
I sure hope so.
Aashna, thanks so much for being here. Huge thanks to Workday for letting us kick off the week in Davos, and now the mayor of Davos, Axios Chief Technology Correspondent Ina Fried, is coming up to the stage.
Thank you. Appreciate it.